Let's go storm the Capitol. Ah!
This is the best you've prepared for a marathon, right?
Yeah.
A 4-week taper.
What's your goal for this race?
My goal is to finish smiling. I think we're gonna just go for it and go full send today and run with the 3:15 pace group. And your PR is
3:17.
and my PR is 3:14:47, I think. So we're gonna try to go under 3:14:47 today.
I didn't know that.
Thank you. You ready? Ready to set a PR?
Yeah, let's do it.
About 16.6. This is when it gets hard. Oh man, it just hit me like a freaking wall. Mentally I can do this. I know I can do it. Fireball! 3:14:35, let's go!
Congratulations, man. Congratulations, fine. Good job. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Good job.
So, quick reaction. How does it feel to have the family PR?
We
Fastest-
basically finished at the same time.
Fastest time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about the Marine Corps Marathon. We just ran a few days ago, and we are gonna break this video down into 3 parts. We're gonna first talk about what we loved about the Marine Corps Marathon. We have 10 things that we wanna share with you guys. Then second, we're just gonna do a very brief 2-minute recap of how the race went for us. And then lastly, we wanna share a few things that we would tell someone who is doing this race in the future. So we're gonna jump right in with 10 things that we loved about the Marine Corps Marathon.
The first thing is it was extremely organized. This is the 49th running of the Marine Corps Marathon, and you could tell that they had everything down pat. From the moment that we got into packet pickup, got through that, and then on race morning, the way that they shuttled us to the start line and worked us through Athletes Village and to the start line, everything was extremely efficient and well organized.
Yeah, and going along with that, the app, they have an amazing app that has so many wonderful features on it. It has a map and it has the tracking and just a lot of really great features that were very helpful. So very organized experience and very organized app.
All right, number 3, pacing groups. I was really excited when they announced that they did have pacing groups, and the times may change. Even from when they first announced it, they said that they would have a 3:10 and a 3:20. And then when we showed up for packet pickup, we found out that they had a 3:15 pace group, which was perfect for us because that was our goal time. So really happy to see pacing groups. But this is an enormous race. So 23,000-ish runners. So even if you don't get with your specific pace group, if you just line up around people, we found that even when we were just ahead of the pace group, everyone was moving about the same pace. So as long as you can get past the first couple miles and lock in, you'll probably have yourself surrounded by at least 20 or 30 other people going approximately the same pace. So that was a huge benefit for us.
Yeah, something else that we loved was the course itself. It goes through so many different beautiful areas. We're on the Parkway for a little while, and then you run through Georgetown, you run through the mall and just get to see all the monuments. So the course in itself, while it's not pancake flat, it is pretty flat and just a really beautiful course with a lot of great scenery to kind of help you take your mind off of the fact that you're running.
Yeah, along the lines of the course, the crowd support along the course was amazing. So even on some of the hills, there was enough crowd support to really lift you up and get you over the hill. The crowd support was unbelievable. It was unlike any race that I've run before.
Yeah, and speaking of support, the Marines were amazing. From our very first experience at check-in to getting on the bus, they were passing out cups of water on the course, and then of course they put your medal around your neck at the end. But the whole time, all of the Marines were smiling and just so friendly, so encouraging, so supportive, and you really felt like they wanted to be there and they were just rooting for you and wanted you to succeed. So it was just a really neat experience to have them there.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going. Hard work, let's go.
Thank you.
Good job.
Next up is probably the most moving piece for me, and that was around mile 13 where the blue mile was. And it was this section where it lined up are photos of fallen Marines, and it was just a very, how would you describe it? Emotional,
Yes.
moving.
Yes.
How was it described to you before the race?
Yeah, someone said there's nothing else more moving in sport, and I definitely think that it was a very solemn time, but it also just gave you an immense sense of gratitude and appreciation for all of these soldiers who have given their lives a lot at a very young age for our country.
Yeah, so you can see on the video the pictures and the little stanchions of each Marine. There was a picture, it talked about the date, how old they were, and if they were killed in action, and the date that they were killed. And it just, it moved me to tears when I was running through there because there were just so many of those faces. And I know that that's only a small representation of all the servicemen and women who've given their lives for our country. There's so many people. But what was really cool is at the end of the Blue Mile were the families holding flags up. And so it was just, man, what a tribute to those families to get to celebrate and memorialize those soldiers. The next thing is, once we got to the end, We had heard that there was a little hill at the end, and my goodness, it is a kicker. It's only about just over 1/10 of a mile. So it's not all that long, but it is really steep, about a 5% grade. And so that's just something to mentally prepare for. The one thing that I thought about as I was running up is just take this hill. It's the last one, take the hill. And as I was going up, it just, man, I was just overwhelmed with the thought of I just finished 26 miles and I'm at the finish line. So the finish area, it is unlike any other race. So it finishes right in front of the Marine Corps Memorial, the men lifting up the flag. It was just a spectacular finish to an awesome race.
Yeah. And two other things to end on. We loved the medal and the shirt. As you can see, very nice, like quarter zip, dry fit, and the medal is a beautiful medal. It does open. So just really nice things. And then lastly, kind of the cherry on top for us was that this course was a PR course for us. So I've done 7 marathons now, and this was by no means pancake flat, like I said before, but when you combine the crowd support and the organization and the Marines and just all of it, it did make for a PR course for both of us. So if that's something that you're chasing for, Marine Corps Marathon is definitely a good one for that. Okay, so I'm just gonna share a very brief race reflection of how it went for me. So going into the race, I had very low expectations. We did Ironman a month ago, and since then, I really haven't done any long runs. The longest run I did, I think, was 12 miles. And in my training, I really hadn't done any specific workouts, long workouts at my goal race pace. So I went into it with very low expectations, decided I was just gonna stay with the pace group, the 3:15 pace group, hang on as long as I could, and if I fell off, what's the worst that can happen? I just jogged to the finish, should be fine. So started out with the pace group, and as a result of just weaving and it being pretty crowded, I ended up a little bit ahead of the pace group, which worked out fine. I just tried to lock it in and stay ahead of them and not let them pass me. Around mile 8 or 9, I started to feel some pain in my hamstrings, which I've been dealing with ever since the Ironman, and I just tried to push through. Around the halfway mark, I got connected with like a really big pack that was going the same pace. So as we mentioned earlier, that helped move me along. Around 17, again, I just started feeling fatigued, and we were going around the mall and there were tons of crowds and the Capitol building. So just all the adrenaline and the excitement helped move me along. And then around 20, I would say I really just started to feel tired, and I just kind of had to push through. And then as we were about the last half mile, the 3:15 pace group came up next to me, and I kind of panicked and knew that I needed to kick it in, and so I did push up the hill. And as I looked at my watch, I saw that I was at 3:14 and some seconds, and so I knew I just had a very brief period of time to charge up the hill, which I did, and was just elated to end up with a sub 3:15, because that's been a goal of mine for a long time.
Okay, so my race recap is pretty simple. I just wanted to hang on as long as I could with Katie, and our plan was to run with the 3:15 pace group. So early on, Katie got a little bit of a gap ahead of the pace group, and I stuck right alongside of the pace group. And I just thought, you know, as long as she's running hard and I can keep her in sight, then things are good. It got really tough for me about mile 10 or 11. And I started thinking, you know, it won't be the end of the world if Katie bonks or shuts it down. I will be quite excited to jog it in and take it easy. But as long as she's running hard, I'm gonna keep fighting. I'm not gonna be the first one to quit. About mile 16 and a half, I've got a video of myself saying, if there's a wall, I'm hitting it. It was tough. And Katie's mentioned this in other videos about the point of a run where you go from running with your legs to running with your heart, and that was really the point where I felt like, okay, I knew my legs could do it, I knew my body could do it, but mentally, I needed to just keep pushing.
Mile 16.6. This is when it gets hard. Oh man, it just hit me like a freaking wall. Mentally, I can do this. I know I can do it.
So I pushed through. The pace group got a little bit ahead of me, but I could still see Katie in my sights from mile 16 to mile 25. Mile 25 was a big point for me, and I knew, hey, I've only got a mile, 1.2 miles left. I know there's not that much more. I can do anything for 1 mile. Really ran as hard as I could to try and catch up with Katie, and I caught up with her just after the 25 and a half mile mark. And so we ran together for a little bit, and then she pushed ahead at the end and I wasn't able to keep up. But really overall, when I rolled through the finish line and saw that I had set a PR for myself of about 10 seconds, I was extremely excited and really proud of this run, because more so on the mental side, that I was able to fight through those thoughts of really just wanting to shut it down, and I kept fighting.
3:14:35, let's go!
Yeah, so we had a great experience. We both got PRs and we loved it. And now we just want to share a few things that we learned that we would say to someone else who might be doing this race in the future.
Yeah, so number one is, we mentioned that this is a huge race and there's gonna be weaving. I think we both fully expected that, but it was still really frustrating when you get out and there's people that are slow jogging, or we didn't really cross many people that were walking early on in the race, but there was a lot of people running 10, 11-minute pace that were ahead of us. And so just word of advice, if you are a slower runner, it's so much better for you and for everyone else. You're not getting brushed by as people run by and dirty looks and all that. Like, we're all runners and we're all trying to get to the finish line, but it'll make for a much better experience if you are a slower runner, to make sure that you line up with those people who are also running about the same pace.
Yeah, there's big signs at the starting line where you can line up with about your estimated pace. So if you just get with those, then it makes everything a lot smoother. Also, in light of that, don't be alarmed if your first mile is slower than all of your other miles. Our first mile was, I think, our slowest mile because we were doing a lot of moving. So secondly, they have gels at 14, 19, and 24, but they are untapped. And we had never tried that before, so we broke the cardinal rule of nothing new on race day.
That's my favorite rule to break.
We had our own gels for 5 and 10, so you definitely want to bring your own for the first half, because the first aid station that has gels is not until 14, but it is untapped. So if you've never tried that before, I definitely recommend you try it before the race, because it was not my favorite.
I mentioned earlier the big hill at the end. It's just something to be aware of. It is not gonna break your race, but it is hard to get up. So when you've gone through 26 miles, it's a kicker. So just over 1/10 of a mile, 5% grade. It'll take your legs out, but you can see the finish line from there, and you've got Marines that are lining up the hill. So everybody's cheering you on. There's a lot of crowd support. It'll get you up and over the hill, and it's not that long. You can do it.
Yeah. And the last thing that we would say, and this is something that kind of threw me off mentally, is the course is a little bit long. And as we've talked with many other people, they all kind of had about the same. My watch said 26.62, and pretty much everybody was around the same. Now, some people will argue whether that's because of tangents or weaving or whatnot, but
This year there was some course closures or redirects.
there was, because of construction.
Could be
so
that.
It could be because of that. But that's just something to really keep in mind, because as I got to about the point where I knew I had about an hour left, I started doing the math in my head. I always like to start to do that around the end, and I realized I was definitely gonna be sub 3:15, maybe even around the 3:10 mark as I was doing the math in my head. But it also was frustrating because every time my watch clicked a new mile marker, it was well before the mile marker on the course. So I didn't know if my watch was wrong or the course was wrong, but I knew something was a little bit off. And then as my watch clicked over to mile 26, I could not see the finish line. It was nowhere in sight. And the 3:15 pace group came up next to me, and I started to freak out a little bit because I knew I was on pace to do more of like a 3:12. So just kind of keep that in mind, that the course may be long and you may need to budget a little extra cushion time. And as
this is essential for somebody who has a time goal that they're trying to hit, because I would say the extra distance probably added on 2.5 to 3 minutes to our pace. And so if you're targeting a certain threshold, a 4-hour mark or a 3-hour mark or whatever it is, budget that in.
Right. And as Caleb mentioned, the hill, there's a slow or longer, more gradual hill just before you do a sharp turn left, and then that is the steep hill So we couldn't see the finish line because we turned and then there's the finish line. So just all of that kind of keep in mind, maybe study the course, make sure you give yourself a little cushion time, keep that in mind because that did cause a little panic for me there towards the end. But all in all, we loved the Marine Corps Marathon.
Final question, would you do it again?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I would too. I would sign up right now if that lined up with our race schedule for next year.
Yeah, so if you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe. We love doing videos like this and want to continue to do more race videos. So we appreciate your support. And if you have any questions or comments, please drop a line below. We would love to hear from you.
We'll see you on the next one. We love you guys.